Oh, there we go again. There we go again. Hold on one second. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m., most Monday through Fridays, talking about coffee, answering questions, and finding interesting, hopefully interesting topics to discuss. Good morning to you, Mom. Good to see you. I'm always forgetting to hit this button. Anyway, so today, our coffee of the day, we're exploring more with the It Cano series. This series of shows where we look at different beverages and can we make Americanos from them. So we'll continue on today with this one. For another to you. Maku, good evening as well. All right, so this is the FUJISAN Cola by Kimura Company in Japan. It is popular. It's done in homage to Fuji, Mount Fuji, it's a little bit cloudy, so I wonder if it has kind of that Calpico kind of flavor to it. What else can we say? Carbonated soft drink ingredients: water, erythritol, citric acid, flavor, acesulfame, potassium sucralose. I don't really know. I'm presuming that the potassium sucralose is some sort of preservative. I don't know. All right, but let's get to testing it. I have never had this soda before, so it'll be my first time trying it. So let us get can we zoom in a little bit more? Yeah, there we go. So we're gonna open it up. Pour out a shot. One of the things you always want to do when you're dealing with carbonated beverages is always put the cap back on. And another thing is keep the cap on to keep it as tight as you can to keep the carbonation held. Plus also you want to keep it cold. The greatest threat to carbonization of drinks is heat, right? The warmer it is, the quicker the carbon dioxide will dissolve out of solution. All right, so here it is, a bit cloudy, like we said. How does this image look to you? It's focusing all right. Not as fast as it was. I did change the settings this morning. I boosted the f-stop to 16 and 3200 ISO. So that we'd have a relatively even kind of exposure looking, right? I think this is set to 400. All right, let's have a taste. Oh, very different than Calpico. This is actually more of a cola, like a true cola. In the vein of Coke, but more like, actually to me, it kind of reminds me of RC Cola. Kind of light, refreshing, a little bit of citricness to it. Some tamarind. Well, actually, that's kind of nice. I like that. Maybe this will be interesting in that it's going to have the Coca-Cola type of experience without the ugly brown color. Oh, I could get into that. Reminds me of Coke, not Coke. Remember quite a long time ago, probably 80s. Pepsi Cola came out with Pepsi Clear. Now, of course, this is not that clear, but it does remind me of that kind of experience. It's one of those things where you drink colas, at least if you come from the United States and you grew up here, like I grew up here. So in many respects, I have a very Americanized viewpoint and sensibility. So whenever you drink colas that are not brown, like Coca-Cola, it just kind of feels weird. But this flavor, to me, reminiscent of RC, a lot of the good, nice sarsaparilla, tamarind, citrus. I would say those are like the high notes, and those are the high notes from here. Dana's with us. Greetings and salutations from Bangkok. Keone and I are hanging out at his place watching. Oh, awesome. That's amazing. That's amazing. So good to see you guys are hanging out together. And Peter says the first Cano was someone saying, let's try adding milk. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Oh, that does remind me. Someone suggested we do Yakult. We will be doing Yakult at some point. I need to swing by the Asian market. Where I live, there's no Asian market. You have to drive, not a long way, but, a good 20, 30 minutes away. Marcus says, I haven't had Royal Crown since I was a kid. Good. It's interesting. I was, maybe it could be 2 years ago. It could be during the pandemic. I don't remember when, but it was a little while ago. I was at the grocery store. And at the grocery store, they have these sales on like soda. I drink a lot of Diet Coke. Like if I'm going to drink soda, it's typically Diet Coke. But I don't buy it unless the grocery store has them on sale. And I use Costco as my guide, right? So 35 cans of Costco usually cost about $15. If I can score a deal at the grocery store on their specials, like once a month or once every other month, they'll do this, where I can score the Coca-Cola for that price or less, I'll buy. And one day they had the RC Cola on sale at that price. And I was like, and you could do the mix match thing. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get Diet Dr. Pepper and plain old RC. They don't make a Diet RC. And I was like, so I had a little bit of RC for a while. Oh yeah, it must have definitely been probably 2 years ago. But not so. Once in a while you get crazy deals. Like recently there's this chain of gas stations, convenience stores called Highs Market here in this part of the country, where we've always had the Highs for decades now. But they were a little tiny store with a gas station, and finally they expanded into this big, like huge convenience store market with like hot foods and fried chicken. And for their grand opening special a couple weeks ago, they had a special, 2 6-packs of 12-ounce Diet Cokes or Coke products, $4. $8 for a case of 24. And I was like, oh my gosh, I bought 4 cases. And I was just like, all right, put those in the garage. They'll be good for a few months. So once in a while you get these great things. Peter says, we got Costco here now. It's nice. Costco is, it's interesting. When I was in college in Hawaii, we only had one Costco, the one that's in Iwilei. And evidently that was one of the busiest Costcos in America. But back then, this is like 1989, who was it? Colleen Youngward. She was assistant head of admissions, something like that. And we got to be good friends. I went to a very tiny school on the windward side of Oahu, really tiny, like 400 students total, and there's half of them were nursing. So there was really only 200 students who actually saw on a regular basis, but you got to know everyone and all of the staff of the entire school. It's really very, very special place. But I remember Colleen and I were friends, and we would all go out once in a while. And one time I met her, and I knew her husband, Jay, who sadly passed away quite a few years ago. But at the time, Jay was assistant manager or assistant GM of the Costco Iwilei. And I remember one day we were talking, and he was like telling me about their sales. And he was like, yeah, he says, we profit $1 million on revenue of 165 million. And I was thinking, and I said to him, I said, well, that doesn't seem like a lot, $1 million out of 165 million. He's like, he said, how many single stores do you know that pull $1 million in profit, in cleared profit a year? And I was like, okay, good point. So Costco, very nice, very nice. All right, now let us give it a try. Now, somewhere along the way, Super Secret John is going to be watching, and he's going to give more admonitions about me doing this incorrectly. So he says that in order for us to reduce the amount of foaminess, we have to chill it. So this has been chilling overnight in the refrigerator. I'll put it back on the ice in the cooler here. Last time we pulled the espresso onto ice, and then we poured it into the mix. And we had this super foam. Like we had super foam. Like it wasn't so dark and craggly and ugly, but it was like voluminous that it overflowed the glass. And he watched that, of course, and he's like, well, you know, you're supposed to you're supposed to chill, put the ice in the drink too. And I was like, man, every time the goalpost moves. So I'm going to do that today. We're going to see if we can eliminate that. But I'm sure he's going to come back with a comment and be like, you should be, maybe he'll say, the glass itself should be floating in a bed of ice. All right, let's give it a try. So we're going to have to get some ice. Okay, we're going to get our glass. Okay, get a glass. We're going to get some ice. For those of you who know me now, I do have my special sustainer. Oh. Actually, this is a great little device. It's a sustainer, a 337. So, you know, it's this tall. I don't know if I've shown this to you so much, but this thing now rides in the back of my truck all the time. So now I've got a pickup truck that has a cooler filled with beverages, and I live in the countryside. And I'm wearing plaid. All I need to do is grow a beard, and I will have everything that is America. Of course, I'm an Asian guy that doesn't fill out too well here, right? I can get the goatee. Okay, so we got this now. We're going to do this. We have to pull the shot onto ice as well. So we're going to go against all kinds of convention that we're going to come back to that. We're going to chill the glass for now. Come back to this. Let's go over here to the espresso machine. And see how we're doing there. Here's our EC1 group head espresso machine, nice and hot. Like I said, I haven't used this since the other day, so I haven't made any changes. Let's get into, we're going to use our Harbor Freight microcloth here to see how it works, if we like them or not. We're going to run get the hot water out. We're going to purge our filter or our grinder a little bit. Okay, good. And then let's pull a test shot to see how it's doing. Okay, so dosed it out. As you can see, it's lower here, higher here, right? It's not very even. So I just like to push it. I'll just push it. That's good. Get our temper. Start my original Reg Barber, or we'll get the updated with the circle pattern on it. Just drop that on there. Let it fit. I probably put a little bit too much. Clean that off. Flush that. Oh, look at that. Just making a mess. This is why I don't like to make espresso at home. Because I have to clean. Oh, not bad, not bad. Looks okay. Maybe a little bit fast. Not bad. What do you think? What do you think? Let's go over here. A little bit of blonding, right? A little bit of blonding. Pretty decent color. Good volume. All right, should turn around so you can see my logo on the cup. Hopefully this will give some legitimacy. This is the La Marzocco out of the box commemorative cup. All right. Good bitterness on the front, great body, some sweetness, a little bit of fruitiness, cacao, and that kind of walnutty finish. I like that. Good, 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 good. Okay, so now, he says to pour it. We're gonna pull the shot into this thing. Oh, let's prepare the shot first. Go clean this out. For me, this is one of the, see how it dripped right here? For me, this is one of the things that this is a big difference between what I'm used to using professionally versus at home, is that the drip trays are deeper, right? Or actually, they're not necessarily deeper, but it would be like this. It could be like, if it was like that, that would solve that little bit of drip issue. So just a little bit longer out, or maybe if the A61 was set in a little bit more, that could be just right. But, not everything is perfect. Okay, let's make sure, we want to make sure we're nice and clean and dry. That looks a little bit light. Now, I know you guys are enthusiasts. You see all of this, right? There's all this falling on here. This is all waste. I'm sure you guys are like, oh my gosh, there's so much waste happening there. And it's true. There is a lot of waste. There may be like 1.5 grams. That is one of the compromises by doing it this way, is that you will have some more waste. In a professional environment, though, this tends to be a little bit faster. Although if you're dealing with some of the newer, like dose by weight grinders, like let's say the E65S or the E80S from Malkonig. What am I doing? Why did I do that? We have to get our ice first. Okay, what I'm doing here is not what I prescribe, right? I always prescribe to not to put the portafilter in unless you're ready to go. Once you put the portafilter in, the next thing you should do is hit the button, nothing else. And typically that's what you'll see me do, except for today, except for this moment where I totally mucked it up. Okay, we got the shot coming out over ice. There it is. Okay, let's go back here now. All right, this has been chilled. I'm going to get rid of this ice and get fresh ice. Okay, now we have fresh ice, and we're going to get our soda back. Okay, now let's get our little Malkonig here. We're going to use this as kind of like a shaker thing. Whoops. Oh, we didn't get the kind of crazy, foaminess that we got the last time. But the volume-wise, does this look all right to you? Like, what do you think? Does that... Now, one thing that I think that I don't like about this, right, is, first of all, is the volume, and like, does that volume look good to you? Like, would you think to be better if it was all the way full? Another thing that I don't like about this is I think it's because of the way that the ice is in there and probably leading the espresso, is that as I poured it in, now we've got like this one color, right? It's all pretty much homogenized throughout the glass, which again brings us back to what I dislike the most about coffee. is this ugly brown color. Like this is ugly brown color. All right, well, like, does that even look exciting to drink? Like, I don't know. Like, you tell me, what do you think? Does this look exciting to drink? I'm just prejudiced against the brown. You know, self-hate kind of thing. It's nice. It's nice. It's like drinking RC Cola with espresso. What we're missing from this, right? This is what I'm thinking. Dan, good morning to you. Maku says, I tried. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Maku. You make me feel better today. Thank you for validating me. Anyway, with the last version the last one we did with the mango soda, and this one, what I missed from the previous attempts is the juxtaposition of hot and cold. Like in these approaches, we are chilling down the espresso with the cold, whatever we're canoing it with. And it's losing, to me, it loses the dynamism that is inherent from the other approaches. Now, I do like the fact that we're not getting a lot of that ugly foam here. Like that really worked. Okay, John, super secret John, good call in this one. But the trade-off now is we don't have it as ugly. Well, it's ugly in a different way, right? So the ugly foam is gone. Now we just have kind of like this nice looking sort of crema, light crema-ish looking foam. But we have to deal with this ugly brown. That's just this monotone brown. And we also lose that. To me, there's a dynamism that happens when you have the hot and cold mixing together on your palate that I just think makes it just so much more interesting. Tastes fine, right? Like, yeah, it's RC Cola with, maybe it's a light RC Cola. What really stands out of the Fujisan Cola with the espresso is the citrus, right? The citric it doesn't have, okay, so when you think of Coca-Cola, you think of like a burn, like a sharper phosphoric acid burn. This one doesn't have the phosphoric acid, so it's not as sharp. But there's just somewhere beneath the espresso layer on the palate is this crispy citrus that's coming from the Fujisan. That's kind of interesting. But I also feel like it's feeling a bit neutral. Like I'm getting a lot of citrus, a bit of dryness, and a lot of the complexity of the espresso is kind of like being tamped down, diminished. I don't know if this is a great example. Okay, maybe what we should do is try something different. Let us go and do one more round. I don't know if this is going to work in such a big glass, but I don't have the other ones ready unless we have another one here. Maybe this one will work just as well. Okay, this one's a little bit pretty. I need to clean it up though. A little bit dusty. Here we have a nice little Remy Martin glass. So let me just do a little drying here with it. This time we're going to go back to the old way, right? So we're going to chill the glass a little bit. I'm going to use this cooker. Chill the glass a little bit. And then a pull espresso. Oh, we can pull the espresso directly on top. So let's get that espresso ready. Look at that nice puck, huh? Nice and tight. This is the one thing that I do like about doser grinders versus dosing grinders, right? Or doser less grinders, is that I can just hit the grinder, let it grind, do everything else that I'm doing, like clean this out, let this rest, and then I can come to it and dispense. Now, if you're using a faster grinder, you're not really saving any time. Like if I'm using the E80, right, it's probably just as good. Maybe that's a little bit too much there, okay. But of course, the E80 costs more than twice this, well, yeah, more than twice this espresso machine. So there's a trade-off, right? But that E80, wow, it totally it'll grind 21 grams in like 3 seconds. Super amazing. Okay, now we've got our Remy Martin glass all chilled. Let's go with our FUJISAN. I'm gonna put that in here. Guess we're going all the way with that one. And then it's going to be time to brew. That's not gonna fit. Will that fit? We're gonna find out. It might not fit. So I'm gonna take this off to at least give us a fighting chance of it working. Okay, well, let's go to it. One more flush, just for good measure. Lock it in, brew. This should fit. Good, it does fit. Excellent. Okay, we are getting a lot of reaction. Oh, we're getting nice dark crema. Look at that. Look at that craziness. But crazy amount of foam. Like this is crazy foam. Look at that. Oh, the battery died. Sorry. The camera that I have up there runs on a battery, but I do have plugged in. Unfortunately, I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. Sorry. Anyway, here is the result. Very high foam, right? Look at that. But nice dark. I like that. See, this is what happens when this is an example of what happens when you pull your shots into a vessel and then transfer it to another vessel that I particularly don't like, right? When you do that, what I love about espresso and in turn Americanos, done the way that we do it, is that I love to preserve, and this is true for any of the beverages that we make with espresso, I want to preserve the crema as much as possible, right? Because to me, the crema has a lot of the oils, a lot of the flavors, even some of the bitterness of the espresso, and I want to keep that. Whether I'm making an espresso, just pull it straight into the cup, right? Or if I'm making a latte or a cappuccino, I want to pull that shot directly into the vessel that I'm going to serve it in before adding the milk. I always want to pull the shot into what I'm serving it in so that we get to preserve everything about the espresso. Because if I'm transferring, I'm leaving something behind, right? I'm leaving things. You're leaving money on the table. Look at this. This has melted a little bit, but you can see it's colored. So there is something here that is missing. And you can see here that the coloration is so different because by putting it in this and doing its thing, we're losing some of this. Now, again, we're back to this whole kind of weird looking moonscape up, which may or may not necessarily be as pleasant to look at or appetizing. And it looks like we're getting some kind of foam stiffy. And it's not so, you can barely see it here in this glass. There is a little bit of layer where there is a little bit of separation. So in this particular case, it really did mix very heavily. Disappointing. And this foam, whatever reaction happens, maybe Empty Head can tell us about this, or Super Secret John might know the reason. This one looks really, the foam looks really tight. I don't know. Let's try. Ooh. I think. Do I have a note? Do I have a mustache? So I think the flavors are relatively similar. However, the experience of the flavor is better. And just because it's not so cold, right? The colder you make something like this, the more it tamps down on your perception, your palate perception. So this, because it's still on the ice, it's very chilled. So what I'm getting a lot of is the acidity of the citric acidness, the citrusy of it, that really comes through. Whereas with this moonscape kind of ugliness, it's at a higher temperature that allows the flavors to express themselves more. So I'm getting more orange, more interest. It's just much more interesting. Now, one of the things I mentioned a little while ago was that I like the layering effect. Now, this one blended quite a bit, so that layering effect isn't happening in this particular case. And I wonder if that could be part of that is being driven by the viscosity of the actual liquid that we're canoing. Right? I think some of them in the past, like the ones with the coconut and the ones that had like the viscosity where the coconuts are floating, those are thicker, so there's a greater resistance to mixing. But yeah, that's... Yeah, definitely. Flavor-wise, this is much nicer than this. This is just kind of cold, acidic, not too expressive. This, much more expressive. If I had to drink either, I would want to have this one, because this one is just like, I think that if I sat down at my bar in front of me and this is what I was served, I'd be a little bit disappointed. It's like, I would say, I don't, you know, because one of my questions as the person serving, how do you find that? And if I was to be asked that question of this, what would I say? But like, I try to find something nice to say. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's not that interesting. It's just not. It's just like kind of like, it's like like if this is what I presented to you, this is half baked. This is not. It's not worthy. It's not worthy. It's not worthy. Whereas this one, despite the ugliness, like, God, that thing is just. Do you guys even want to put this in your mouth? Like, does that even look appetizing to you? Like, or should we just scoop that out? Maybe we should just scoop that out, because. And if anyone's watching has other ideas on how we can, you know, dissipate this ugly foam, or at least, you know, make it nicely, you know, pretty foam. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on it. And Super Secret John, I'm very thankful that you chimed in about this, because that really has reduced the ugly foam tremendously. Your suggestions there. It's just that. It's just, and unfortunately, the cold is like, I think the cold part is dragging it, because we have to chill everything. But I love the fact that we're losing the foam, or the foam is becoming prettier. Here, the foam's still ugly, but more expressive. More expressive. Craig says that a little xanthan gum works wonders. Oh, good idea. And Peter says, you don't want foam. If you don't want foam, do a pour over. Oh, that's a good point. Maybe we should try. Well, I mean, I don't mind. It's not that I don't mind the foam, because I think the foam gives us, another layer. So like in those times that we have like good layering, we've got our main liquid, we've got the espresso, and then we have the foam. So I think visually it's a little bit more interesting, right? But again, when you look at it as the consumer, do you think twice? Like, would that cause you pause in wanting to consume it? And that's my concern. My idea for preparing beverages for guests is that I want people to be enthusiastic about drinking it, right? Like I'm not a big heavy. I don't give a lot of weight to latte art, meaning that I don't have our staff working on the latest dragon to do for latte art. I just want them to do nice, clean, well-textured, and great contrasted foam and espresso. And if they can work a heart or maybe a rosetta, that's perfectly fine, because I think that is great. That is enough. That is enough. I don't think it necessarily has to be all of the latte art championship kind of work. And so that's what I want. I want people to look at something and be like, I want to put that in my mouth. And this foam just makes me kind of like, oh. And Peter says, do pour over with a slice of lemon. Are you talking about a slice of lemon in the glass or inside the filter with the coffee? That could be an interesting, that sounds like an interesting episode to come. I've never thought about lemon in coffee. All right. So tomorrow, we're going to be on the road. There is a Festool event that is happening. So you guys know that I've been following on this Festool rabbit hole lately. And so this past weekend, so I guess it was twice a year or once a year, I don't know how often, but Festool goes around the country having these events at their dealers, right? So my local dealer, Woodcraft of Baltimore, is celebrating this last weekend and next weekend. They're celebrating their 1-year anniversary. They've been open for a year now, and the 19th, this Saturday, they're having their Festool event. And I'm like, well, I have to go to the Renaissance Festival because I told my friend that I would take her. So I can't go. And then last weekend, that just passed, the Woodcraft in Rockville had their Festool event. And I couldn't go to that because I took my nephew to the pinball event. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was looking online at the Festool website, and I found out they're having a Festool event tomorrow in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour, 20 minutes from where I am. And I'm like, okay. I called Matt. I said, dude, Festool event Thursday. He's like, so he's arranged for his daughter to go to preschool. Instead of half a day, she's going to go all day long. He's like, we just got to be back by 4:30. I was like, we will do it, man. We will do it. We will do it. So we're going to be on the road tomorrow and we're going to be checking out this coffee that I picked up in Uganda quite a few years ago. I don't know how long ago. The last time I was in Uganda was a couple of years ago. And I just happened to find it in a pile of stuff as I've been cleaning up the house. And I'll tell you more about it, but it's a coffee called Star Coffee, which is like the big Uganda. It's kind of like the Maxwell House of Uganda. So we're going to give that a try and see how it goes. See how it goes. I know Festool fever, man. You understand, Keone. You understand. Like I'm scouring the Facebook marketplace for like what Festool is available in my area. Like I was asking the guys on the Festool owners group this last night. I was like, I found a guy that's selling the Pro 5 sander for $200. And I've seen a bunch of guys on the Festool owners group talking about the Pro 5 and how awesome it is. Like, is it that awesome? If I already have the ETS EC 150, do I need this Pro 5? Like, will I get what advantage is there? And one of the guys was like, you know what, man, that's a sander that's kind of like the ETS 125 today that came out quite a few years ago that sold for $99. So the guy's got it's the guy's selling for 200. He's like, dude, it's not. Just buy if you really want one. You get the ETS, the regular ETS. It's pretty much the same. And I was like, gotcha. I appreciate that. All right. Maku says we need clips of you wearing. Ooh, you know what? I'm sure they're gonna have. I don't know if it'll fit. As much as I've trimmed down over the past year, and I can fit into like if when I go to the sporting clays range, I can fit into my Beretta vest finally. Like when I bought it last year, like I couldn't close it. Now I can close it. It's fairly comfortable. I don't know. Oh, it's an exoskeleton. So yeah, all right. I'll see what I can do. All right. I guess that's gonna be it for today. We'll be back again tomorrow on the road somewhere in Pennsylvania. Depending on what time we get there, because what I'm going to do is tomorrow we're going to go to the lumber yard. There's a big lumber yard called Groff and Groff. If you've seen the video about the bar top on this channel, we're going back to that place. That place has like all kinds of crazy woods and at very reasonable prices. Now, unfortunately, it's about an hour from here, so it takes a little while to get there. It takes a bit of effort. But I mean, the selection and quality of wood is excellent, and the prices are like, you can't beat their board foot prices here and where I live. So, I'm gonna go back, pick up some wood. Peter says, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Festool, Festool, is a company from Germany that makes woodworking tools that is considered the highest grade. So it's kind of like the Lumber Zocco of woodworking tools. Like their stuff is just so well thought out. And as I've been building that bar top that you might have seen in the video, I've always heard about them, right? So back in the mid 2000s, I think that's when I first had. There was another woodcraft shop here in Baltimore before that closed in 2012. And I used to go there because I have a curiosity in it. And I've built a couple projects around the house. Like I did all the workshop build out or all the stuff I built out in the garage. I've done like a couple cabinets for the audio video equipment that I have. Just real basic, 19-inch kind of like rack mounted kind of cabinet. So I could put a whole bunch of rack mounted stuff in it. And but very rudimentary. I'm very rudimentary at it. And then I've done some of the light carpentry at the shops. I've done a lot of the build out, like the roastery. I pretty much did the entire build out of the roastery myself. Built the counter there. But I wouldn't say that I've got great skill. If you compare it to some of my friends, the work that I do, it's like I'm hacking away at it. Like I'm butchering everything, right? But for this bar top, my friend Matt, he's got a big workspace that he lets me use, which is very thankful. And he recently bought this Festool sander, the ETS EC150, which is a 6-inch sander that has a 5mm orbit, right? So it's a big orbit, so it can be pretty aggressive if you want. And if you have, I have sanders that I use are like Ryobi, DeWalt. Yeah, I have Ryobi and DeWalt sanders, right? Which for me have been great. But one of the problems with sanders that you're buying is that it's the vibration. The vibration of the sander is so heavy that you sand for 20 minutes and you can feel your hand tingling, right? So that's a big you get numb. You're like, okay, I got to take a break. And then there's the dust collection aspect. So you're sanding and dust is everywhere. Like I haven't made the video for it, but I shot a lot of video of the work surfaces that I've been making. So I made a couple of work surfaces for the new bar from both mahogany and sycamore. I'm using mostly the Ryobi 5-inch random orbital sander, right, to do this. And I'm coated in dust, and I'm totally coated in dust. One of the things about Festool is that if you get their extraction system, right, you connect it to a sander, man, it's virtually dust-free. Not 100%, but man, it's like really, I'm coated in dust, wood dust, if I sand. But with this extraction attachment to it. And we were using just a rigid with an external cyclone, not even the actual Festool extractors. Now we have the Festool extractors, but that worked fabulously well. So this is but they're wildly expensive, like wildly expensive. And I always shied away from them back in the 2000s because they were wildly expensive. And I was like, well, I can get a DeWalt for much cheaper. But when we started doing this bar top, I was using the 150 with the 5-inch orbit and with the 5-millimeter orbit. And man, someone said to me before that the Festool brings joy to sanding. And I was like, what kind of craziness is that, right? But man, it was so nice. Like my hands don't like tingle. It's just a brilliant piece of machinery that the feel, the weight, the way it glides. And when you get the extraction system that's from Festool, you can control the amount of suction so that instead of it sucking the sander to it and making it harder, it actually allows it to glide. But you're paying a strong premium for that. But man, everything I've used from them has been like butter. So it's kind of worth it. It's kind of worth it. Peter says, I want a portable timber mill. You know, there's a guy we know, Sam, that has one. Actually, one of the neighbors, one of Matt's neighbors, Matt's my neighbor also, but he's farther away down the road. But one of the trees fell. And we got this buddy, Sam, that has one of those portable mills that will come and like rough saw the slabs out of the oak. It's pretty amazing. And like, well, and he can do it. It's interesting because those, you know, the trees fall and they're not on like level ground. They're like this one's on a slight decline. And it's like he can set this up so that the saw will work at any angle and still cut level slabs out or relatively level slabs out of it. It's pretty crazy. Baldhead says that Festool is a cult. Yeah, it really is. It really is. I've got my, it's terrible. It's terrible. But it's fun. It's fun, you know. It's kind of like the Marzocco cult, you know. Kenny says, I love my Festool tools almost as much as my Leica camera. Oh, man. Festool and Leica. You are like the German aficionado, man. I can't even afford to look at Leica. But I must say, when I go to my local camera shop, Service Photo, they're like a dealer. And once in a while, I'll look at them, man. But, oh, man, they feel so nice. Like whatever on the newer models, right? I think the M50 or whatever they call it. The coating or whatever that grippy surface is, it's a grippy but suave, it's sexy. It's just so like, it's weighty. Everything about it just feels so beautiful. Like it's so different than the other cameras I use, right? Like I mainly have been using Canon cameras, especially in the film world. And now we use Sony, right? Like since this one's already battery's dead. Like this is the main shooting camera, right? What I mean by that, this is the main camera that I use when I'm out in the field. This is the Sony ZV-1. And like, it's a nice camera. It's a great camera, right? It's a great camera. But you know what, man? Like, it doesn't have the feel of the Leica. Like the Leica, you hold it just like, you're like, oh my gosh, this is $6,000 of total sexiness. And if I had $6,000, I would totally buy it. Totally be like, because it wouldn't improve my photography. I'd still be a terrible photographer, but I would feel so sexy. Like, this is a great tool. Don't get me wrong. I love this. I love this camera. This is the first generation of the ZV-1. And if you happen to know about this, but they have a new generation that I did not buy. Every generation of camera they've come out with in the ZV line, I've always planned on buying. Like, for example, there was this camera first, and then the camera that I'm shooting on now, the ZV-E10, when that was announced, I was like, or when they were releasing that, I was like, I'm going to go buy that, but it didn't shade a lens and all that. But it's missing features that I think are so valuable that are in this camera. Most namely, the ND filter. The built-in internal ND filter is a game changer for this camera. None of the other ZV cameras, the E10 or the E1, have that. And it's like the greatest feature ever in a camera is a built-in ND filter for video. And you included it in the base model, but you didn't include it in the upper end models. I was like, I didn't buy that. And then when they finally went to the ZV Mark II, like this is equivalent 24 to 70 millimeter lens, right? It's labeled here 9.4, 25.7, right? Because that's the actual physical distance, but because it's a 1-inch sensor, it's equivalent to 24 to 70, which there's many times that I would like to reach out a little bit more, but I like it better than the new one that has a 16 to 50 equivalent. And it's like, I want more reach. I don't necessarily, I can put the camera, like a lot of vloggers are upset because, at 24 millimeters, it's not as wide as this lens. Like the lens that's on this camera is the Sigma 16, which is about 24 millimeters, which is about the same. Anyway, if I need to get wider, I can push that a little bit further, maybe get a little bit longer stick. But losing the 20 millimeters from 70 to 50 is too much. I was like, that's just too much, man. That's just too much. It's not worth upgrading. But what I mean by that is that you get the Leica and like, oh, you just feel so sexy with it. This one is a tool. It's a great tool. It's an awesome tool. It just doesn't deliver the sexiness. And sometimes you want sexiness, like the Festool, when you're holding that standard, the new generation of standards, there's a sexiness to it, the feel, the weight, the balance. It's like this, right? When this first came out, this portafilter, right? It has, stainless steel instead of brass that's that's chrome plated. And with this little thing here that allows you to set on the counter without it rocking, right? So you don't have fall off. So it holds it flat. And then you have removable stainless spouts. Oh my gosh. And I always like the feel, the shape of this La Marzocco handle. So it's like things like that are just so nice. When you have nice tools, it makes the whole experience much more enjoyable, much more pleasurable. It doesn't necessarily increase your skill set. Like, I'm still a terrible photographer. I'm still a terrible woodworker. I just feel sexier doing it. That's all. Peter says, I miss the old film in dark rooms